poor boy in Ashland. And we selected Ashland again, and then for 2013, which would be the 4th year of the program, we had some extensions built into the contract, so we just extended for another year through the end of this year. So Ashland is they're the only line clearance or tree trimming contractor that we have on the property right now. And those particular expenses are related to a project that we were working with Brian on.
Yes. Anybody else have questions on any of the other ones?
I guess I'm confused as to why you didn't just use, why didn't you come to the council and ask for approval to use Jim Hubbard on the Anderson and Bird?
Uh-huh. What do you mean, use Jim Hubbard?
Well, it says that Jim Hubbard indicated he could not provide his services without prior approval of the city administrator. Why did you ask her?
Why did I not ask her?
Did you ask the city administrator?
I didn't. No.
Why not?
You know, in the past, I've called Mr. Hubbard, and he's assisted me without any problem. In this particular instance, I had some specific questions about Ordinance 2296 that he was the author of, and I called Jim and said, I'd like to visit with you about this, and he said, I cannot talk to you about that ordinance without talking to the city administrator first.
And what was the date on that? Do you recall?
Larry, I do not recall, but it was while Jim was still the city attorney.
The services rendered by the folks at Anderson Bird, it looks like those were all in November. And that was at first starting on the 5th, which was probably 2 weeks after the new city the new city attorney had been appointed. Did you try and talk with city attorney Ryan Dank before you contacted the Anderson Bird people, or did you contact them before he got seated on the 21st of October?
I contacted them before he got seated.
Any idea why they didn't get around to your project until 2 weeks after the new city attorney?
That's when he finally responded, Mr. Mayor. It took several weeks for him to respond to the questions that I had.
Anyone else have any questions regarding consent agenda item number 4?
I move that we approve the expenditures for good and/or services incurred by the electric department, which are, well, gosh, I guess, what is it? I'm not sure how to phrase it. I'm sorry. Approve the expenditures for goods and/or services incurred by the electric department, which are outside the city's purchasing policy and procedures per KSA 12826, as described in consent agenda item number 4.
Second.
Motion.
That was descriptive enough.
Yes. Motion Freeman, second Shute, that we approve consent agenda item number 4. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
No.
Motion carries. Consent agenda item 4 carries. Consent agenda item number 5. Christie, you have questions?
Well, I'm not really sure what the difference between 4 and 5 are, now that other than they're different policies. So I'm not sure. They're the same expense.
There's different ones on 5.
5 quotes an extra state regulation, but it doesn't, or state statute. But the expenses, as far as I know, we don't have any information on the different expenses for each of these.
Well, I would suggest that maybe, Bill, can you explain to us about the invoice from William Fish?
Mr. Fish is a consultant that worked with us very closely on the controls for our 2 combustion turbine generators. Mr. Fish was a project engineer on the installation of those turbines back 20 years ago. Believe it or not, he is, as far as we can find, the only one that can assist us with the problems that we were having with the turbine. We actually hired another consultant from a company called Pond and Lucier that spent some time with us. Pond and Lucier were actually, Mr. Fish actually worked for Pond and Lucier when the units were installed. So we went back to Pond and Lucier. They could not help us. Mr. Fish was the only one that could. So we contracted for his services. He was here for like 4.5 work days.
Okay. I was at the last Electric Utility Board meeting, and there was discussion about this item. One of the board members brought up, this is something you guys have been contemplating fixing at some point in the near future, so that we're not beholden to one guy that, God forbid, lightning strike, car accident, something like that happened to him.
You're correct, Mr. Mayor. The only way we can free ourselves of Mr. Fish's services at this point in time is to do a wholesale change-out and replacement of the controls on the two turbines, and we're probably talking $250,000. And we're going to be looking at that next year. Because if something, you're right, if something happens to Mr. Fish, we have a problem.
Okay. The ability to keep the turbines running, that's important for some of our power agreements?
It's important. We have to have enough capacity on record and for each to meet 112% of our summer peak, and without those two turbines, we would not have that capacity. We would have to actually go out and purchase capacity.
How many hours of those turbines run in the summer?
Last summer, they didn't run any.
And the summer before that?
They run between, on average, 100 and 150 hours a summer.
So 4 to 6 days.
That's exactly right.
And what do we pay to maintain those turbines and on an operational basis?
What do we pay?
Well, I mean, I guess...
Well, typically, we pay our employees. Again, our philosophy is we don't hire contractors unless it's absolutely necessary, but...
I guess what I'm trying to do is weigh the pros and cons of just buying the power for the 6 days that we need it.
No, you have to buy capacity. That's for the year. We buy energy on the open market.
Right.
But capacity is separately. It's different from energy.
So, but that capacity, those agreements were made, what, 2011?
No. Well, the wholesale energy purchase contracts are ongoing. You know, we have contracts to purchase power from energy, from Grand River Dam Authority, Omaha Public Power District, Western Area Power Administration. We also, and that's still not enough, we buy on the open market during peak conditions in the summertime.
So do you, every year you misjudge how much power you're going to need, or, I mean, I would think after the first time you use the generators for only 6 more days, you would just buy more capacity. Is that not?
No, you just can't buy capacity from day to day.
Right, but I mean, for the year, you can't buy enough capacity to cover, or you're saying
We can buy capacity. You know, we can...
Too much for the rest of the year.
We can mothball the units and buy capacity if you know.
So have you ever done a cost-benefit analysis on that?
No, we have not.
Don't you think that's prudent, though? I mean, you got...
We could look at that. We've got a couple of units that are worth several $1 million that would be sitting there doing nothing.
And they are units that we already own. We're not...
True, but the maintenance versus how long they're used, I mean, you know, it's like any other thing that you buy once and then only use 1/100th of the, you know, of the time. Why do you still have it, I guess?
I would almost equate this, again, this is a much more simplified version, but having a power generator in your basement, okay? If you have to have capacity, you have to be able to generate capacity to be able to fit the needs of your community, and you have to be able to get to that generating capacity. You don't want to just throw away your generator